Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We're looking forward to sharing some information with you about the executive program and social impact strategy and for sharing some alumni perspectives with you. We're so glad you're here. I'm joined by Amber Dietrich. She's the coordinator for the executive program, and I'm Ariel Schwartz. I'm the director of distance learning here. We're both here at the University of Pennsylvania, and I do curriculum development, and I'm responsible for learning outcomes for the executive program, and Amber is the main point of contact during the whole program for updates, reminders, and to-dos all throughout the program. So today you're going to hear a little bit, we'll spend about 20 minutes hearing about the highlights from the executive program and what you're all here for, hearing from some alumni, some of their perspectives about participating in the program, and then we'll have a Q&A session. So during this time, we hope that will use the chat. If you have a question, you can type it into the chat or the Q&A, and we'll either respond to them during the course of the session or at the end. And after the session, you can feel free to reach out to Amber directly, and you'll see her email address on there. So today, you'll see three folks today. Russell Goldstein, we had some technical issues. I'm not sure if he'll be on yet, but hopefully you'll see his nice face soon. We're joined here by Alfredo Chavarin in Mexico. He's the founder and partner at Good Side, and Cici Rodriguez, who is the executive director at Roots of Hope in Miami. Thanks, guys, for joining us. So before we dive into hearing their perspective, we want to describe to you very briefly a little bit about our executive program. We designed this program in social impact strategy to provide world-class, high-quality education in an accessible way, and that's affordable for people who want to impact the world. We're a research and an action center, and we equip, train, and connect a thriving community of social innovators committed to making a lasting social impact. And what is social impact strategy for us? We believe that it's any effort to create public value that is systematic, sustainable, and innovative. Effectively creating social impact is an essential challenge to all organizations, regardless of their geography or sector. And we really believe about this, a couple things here. We believe that anyone, anywhere can have an impact. We are sector agnostic. Partly that's because almost any project that we do is going to reach across sectors at some point. And then in any geography, we think about our communities no matter where we are. And as you'll see here, our faculty director, Peter Frumpkin, embodies this value, and our students do too. And so just to give you a little bit of understanding of who our students are, the age range is 23 to 62, with an average of 10 years of working experience, and the average age being 36 participants in the program, age in terms of their average age. They come from 33 countries, and we've graduated 225 students so far. This is pretty exciting. We'll be in our fourth year in 2018. Our students come from all sectors and in all stages of development. About 22% come in thinking about a project in the ideation stage. They're actually doing some work to incubate an idea during the course of the program. About 12% are in the design phase, doing a little bit in the field, and 17% in a pilot stage, being a little bit more systematic about understanding the impact that they're having, and then about half are trying to scale their impact. I'd say about 60% are from the nonprofit sector and 40% from the for-profit sector. We've also had people participate from government and from universities. People are about evenly split up in terms of their professional experience. About 14% have more than 20 years of experience, and they provide a huge amount of value for all of our participants. About 30% have 0 to 5 years experience, and almost 60% have 5 to 19 years of experience. If you look to the right hand of this slide, you'll see the different roles that our students embody in their own work. They're also about evenly distributed here, and although we have 225 students, there are so many more data points embodied in this graph, partly because all of our students have multiple hats. So some are volunteers and board members and a founder of one project while they're working as an advisor on a different project. And so it's really nice to see how the sort of breadth of experience and roles that people have. So you'll read a little bit about the learning journey. You'll see that there are details to this journey in the program overview, which you can download from our website. So I won't spend too much time talking about it, but we kick off in January, and we have about 6 weeks of online learning. We meet in person at the University of Pennsylvania for some learning and community building, and then we spend 12 more weeks learning, and then we move into the electives period, and we ask that students take 2 electives out of 6. And then there's a commencement ceremony and alumni summit where we meet again at the University of Pennsylvania. So we focus during the executive program on a methodology for innovation, leveraging design thinking tools and all sorts of frameworks for social innovation. We spend time building community and gaining clarity on your social impact idea and the projects that you're working on. And I think with that brief overview, I think it's time to hear a little bit from our alumni participants. So if you'd like to get started, maybe Alfredo, we'd hear from you first. In 2 minutes, what are you doing in the world today, and what are you passionate about?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. What I do, I consider myself as a facilitator, and what a facilitator does is attempt to provide conditions in which people can learn best. So I'm the founder of GoodSide. GoodSide used to be just a training and development company, and so since I am passionate about the transformation of organizations, what I'm doing right now is I'm prototyping a new service in which my clients can the journey that I live with a team. And sorry, something happened with my connection. So well, that's who I am, and if you have any other question, please don't hesitate to ask me, and I'm very happy to be part of this big community. People from around 40 countries, so it's amazing the experience that you will experience during the following months. So thank you, Ariel.
Thanks, Alfredo. If you don't mind, I think you had your technical challenge right at the key moment. Do you mind just repeating maybe your most important sentence in the world for everybody?
Yes, in fact, this quote is from Albert Einstein, and my most important sentence in the world is that when you facilitate something, you attempt to provide conditions in which others can learn best. So that's what I do. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. you'll see panelist Russ. You'll be able to see him on the screen right now. Welcome, Russ. Glad to have you. Cece, why don't you give a quick 2-minute introduction to yourself, and then we'll hear from Russ too.
Thank you, guys. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. My name is Cece Rodriguez, and I just finished the program just about a month ago. So really, really excited to be talking to you guys. I'm the executive director of Roots of Hope, which is a nonprofit organization based here in Miami, Florida, and we work primarily with Cuban youth, both on the island and also in the U.S. I am originally Cuban. I was born on the island and I was raised there until I was a teenager. So this is obviously something that is very near and dear to my heart. Our most important sentence, I think, and by the way, our most important sentence is something they'll teach you about in the program. And you really do a good job at kind of putting everything together and being able to like meet someone and really quickly say, this is what I do. So my most important sentence is our goal really is to empower young Cubans ages 18 to 40 by providing entrepreneurship training programs, travel opportunities, and tech devices. And the last one is mostly because Cuba is still one of the countries in the world with the least amount of access to internet, and where tech devices are just incredibly difficult to get and incredibly expensive. So that's what I do, that's what drives me, and that's what I'm passionate about. So I'm really excited to hear from you guys and see what's driving you today.
Great, thank you. Nice to hear from you, Cece. Russ, can we hear from you for a quick 2 minutes?
Yeah, hey guys, can you hear me? Awesome. So, morning, everybody. So, is there an echo there? Or? Okay. So my day job is I'm an institutional client advisor with U.S. Trust. I got tremendous echo. I'm sorry. And my venture that I worked on. My venture. Can you hear me? Sorry. So my venture that I worked on through. Sorry guys. I've got tremendous feedback up here.
That's okay, Russ. We can hear you, but it sounds like you're having trouble not hearing too much of yourself. So if you don't, if you want to spend a minute and take your time to do that and work on your technical, your audio, that's okay. And maybe we can jump into the first question, and then after you, we'll give you another try when we're delving into the experiences of all of you. Does that sound okay? Okay, so first question, we'd love to know how the program impacted you and how did it help you grow? And Russ, you're unmuted now if you want to give that a try.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to just try to do this with no volume on the phone, so this will be better because I'm getting feedback. I apologize. So my venture through UPenn was to envision a world where leaving a legacy is the social norm. I've worked a lot on that during, before, and after UPenn, and UPenn really helped me sort of shape my thoughts and my philosophy, and is this even a valid thing to be working on in the world, and really helped me codify that that is the case. Since then, I had such an urge for the camaraderie, the information, the knowledge that I went to. I'm actually taking my master's in sustainability right now at ASU, Arizona State University, to continue to really shape this vision and this initiative to make this a reality. So I serve on a lot of boards, and during the day I work with family foundations and nonprofits to ensure they have the advice and tools to drive as much impact and effective philanthropy in their worlds as they dream to be what they want to get done. So that's where I spend my day. I don't have my most impactful sentence right now, but I will in a little bit. So I apologize for that. I've had technical issues for like 20 minutes here. I'm just getting settled. Sorry.
That's great. Thanks, Russ. Cece or Alfredo, would you like to share?
I can go ahead. How did it impact me and how did it help me grow? I was coming into a brand new position when I was first applying to the program as executive director, and I felt like there were parts of my job that I really had down. I definitely knew the audience that we were hoping to empower. I had a passion for Kiva, which I think when you work in this world is the first thing that you need to have. But there were a lot of the more technical things that I didn't really know. I was running a nonprofit, and I was also running a socially conscious startup that is owned by the nonprofit. I never considered myself an entrepreneur. So it was really good to be able to come in and have the tools that I needed to look at my business and to look at my nonprofit and actually be able to identify the work that I needed to do. Like some things that I already knew existed, and some of them I like to think I was already doing, but I didn't know what they were called. So, and I think one of the first moments I had like that was very, very early on when we were asked to identify our competitors and actually do an analysis of that. And I always struggled doing that because I thought I work in the social impact world. I work for a nonprofit. What do you mean competition? Like we're all in the business of doing good in the world. So it was really good to kind of take me out of my comfort zone and help me look at things in a way that I didn't or hadn't looked at before, but I had to. Like I definitely needed that for my business and for my nonprofit. So
Yeah, and in my case, I think that the impact happened in different grounds. The first one is I have to say the social space. When I told my friends that I was about to study a program in UPenn, they were like, "Really? Is there a social impact program in UPenn? And please tell me more about it." So it was, I know that UPenn has a lot of credibility. So yes, first of all, the impact in my network was pretty much interesting. And how did it help me grow? I would say that now I understand the value that I can bring to society. I think that was the result of this learning experience for me. And I know different ways to take control of my own impact. And I would say that this is a relatively new discipline. So I am really committed on keep reading about it, keep in touch with my new network, with my new friends. So that's overall that's the impact that I got from the program.
Great. Thank you, Alfredo. Great to hear from you. So next, can you describe a little bit of how the community of the cohort supported your growth?
I guess I can jump in.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Just unmuted Russ.
Yeah.
Get you in 1 second.
So amazing help, amazing community. I've stayed in touch with just about most of my cohorts from UPenn. Matter of fact, serve on the board right now of Michelle Garcia's nonprofit. I've worked with Cindy on a lot of what I spend time during my day is board governance and sort of a self-proclaimed governance geek. So I spend a lot of time talking to Cindy and others about governance and how to help them structure a more effective board. So we're always sort of emailing and connecting on something, whether it be through LinkedIn because we see each other on LinkedIn on something, and or just, hey, I'm in town, this is what's going on. So I do that with Savanko all the time and others. So I've created a lot of great friendships that are now forming into how do we work together? How do we use each other's skills and intellectual capital to move kind of our initiatives or thoughts or ventures forward? And so it's been a lot of fun. And then really just reading and watching everybody's effort and work, whether it be through LinkedIn or through, through the UPenn program, just, report outs and stuff like that. It's created just this environment of, hey, if I need people to tap into for X, Y, or Z, I've got this community to do so. So it's been really helpful. And the professors and Ariel and Cosmo and Kavi and everybody else as well.
Thanks, Russ. Cece, love to hear from you.
This is actually, it's one of the questions that I get the most when I talk to people about the program, and I think it's in part because of the online nature of it, and people think it's difficult to foster a sense of community, but it's my favorite question to get anytime I talk about this program. Our cohort was over 100 people, so it's difficult to stay in touch with all of them, but it's not a day goes by that I am not in touch with someone from the program. Today, like just a couple hours ago, I was working with Harry out of Starbucks here in Miami. Tonight, I'm meeting with about 5 or 6 of them who just happen to be in the city. And from a personal perspective, I can actually say that I've developed friendships from this cohort that are going to be there for a long time. And then from a professional perspective as well, you'd be surprised once you're put together in a room with this amount of people, how many of them, first of all of them are going to inspire you to an extent, and then you're going to be surprised how many conversations you have with other people, and you're like, oh, so-and-so be good for this, or this person be fantastic at this role. So to me, I think one of the most important parts of the program was definitely that this is a community. Coming from the nonprofit world, for example, I've always felt like the work we do it's very selfless, and it goes unnoticed sometimes because we're here to serve, basically. So it's really great to be able to have a community of like-minded people who understood your struggle and who were cheering you on. I probably have about 5 or 6 different groups, from WhatsApp, Slack, to iMessage, and so on, where I am connected with different people from the program every single day. And sometimes it's easy as a happy Monday type thing, which is messages that a few of us send each other every single Monday because we don't like Mondays. So just really getting, a message at the end of the day with a picture that says, I just conducted this How My We session today, and just really bringing their colleagues together and taking what we learned here outside of just the Penn walls and really making sure that we're also putting that in practice in our ventures and in our businesses. So it's really, really awesome to see what everyone is doing and to stay in touch with them. I think it's been the most important part of the program for me.
Thanks so much, Cece. Alfredo, you want to mention this one, or would you like to talk about the next one?
Yeah, the next one is fine. I just can say that I have I didn't know about the community in Mexico that is already doing social impact projects. So in my case, not only the international cohort that I met, but also the national, and we are still in touch, obviously, and helping us each other with all this stuff about the earthquake that happened 2 weeks ago. So the sense of community, obviously, it's
Thanks, Alfredo. I hope you all heard him. He's going to just rejoin right now. So I think we talked a little bit about community. Next question that I hope that our alumni panel will address is, please describe one specific assignment that helped you grow or helped you make an impact.
Yeah, so this is Russ. So there was one assignment that we were working on, the how might we, and and it was all Cosmo and Ariel were helping me riff on kind of my what is the big goal? We're just getting laser focused on what am I trying to solve here. And so we kept talking and changing words and thinking through what is it, and it sort of had one of those aha moments of, oh, okay, it's now it makes sense. It made sense in my head, but I couldn't articulate it until Cosmo and Ariel and others brought it out of me. So that was one that was really powerful. As sort of simple as it seems sometimes, it really got me laser focused on what I am aiming for. And then from there, there was a moment in one of the exercises that I was able to find, through storytelling, kind of how do I tell this story better? Because it was in my head, it was too complex, and it wasn't resonating with people. So the comparison, at least for me, of an organ donor and getting your driver's license and filling out the organ donor question when you go through your driver's license application, just was another aha moment to help me tell the story to others. And they were sort of small exercises mixed into the big picture of UPenn and the program, but those two alone have completely changed the direction of what I've been doing. So.
Thanks, Ross. Oh, I was just saying thank you, Russ. Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Alfredo or Cece, are you interested in addressing that one, or should we move on to the next? Cece, now you're muted.
Yeah, I can jump in really quickly. I think for me, it was we did a design thinking crash course and an exercise, and I think it's something that a lot of us already do, but we don't necessarily know that it's a thing, and we don't necessarily know how to go about it. And for me, it was the first time that I was learning about design thinking, and it really just looking at your audience and looking at those you're trying to your work serves, and making sure that you're actually serving their needs and not the needs that you think they have. So right after the convening in March, which is when we went into this, I went down to Cuba with a group of Cuban Americans for 10 days. And it was 10 days of just really engaging our base and just making sure that we were asking the right questions. And coming back from that, our whole team has basically launched into a strategic session planning to make sure that we're doing just that. We're designing our programming and the work that we do to best serve the people who need it. So it sounds so simple, but really it's not until you're right there learning from the amazing people from IDEO that they bring to teach this that you realize, like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and in my case, the logic model was a really interesting tool that we constantly use during the program and during the learning process. And this is a way to map the impact that you want to achieve. So for me, it was really, really useful. And that was the assignment that really helped me to grow my initiative, my venture.
Great, thank you all. So last question. What advice do you have for somebody who is interested in this program? Then we'll switch to Q&A.
There we go. Thank you. So one, you learn a lot of things about technology. No, I'm just kidding. I would suggest one, first and foremost, do it and do it and go all in. It is by far one of the better things I've done in my life in terms of growing as a person, as a partner, as a business partner, as a sort of professional in the workspace. Not only do you learn a lot about how to really put form and function behind what's in your head and the ideas of your venture, you really learn about yourself along the way as well. So in that, it was extremely valuable. But I would say if you have something that you think can really make a difference in the world, the talent and the team and your colleagues and your cohort really add to that and help you, again, just get it off the off the piece of paper and into action. Because sometimes you just don't even know where to start, or you think you have something, or even if you already are, like Sis said, so you're an executive of a nonprofit, maybe you're starting a new revenue stream for that nonprofit, and you're having board meetings and talking about these things, but nothing's really happening. UPenn and this program really just provides the tools and the confidence to say, okay, I actually do have something here. And then just let's go. So definitely dive in and go all in.
Thanks so much, Russ. As the rest of you are thinking about it, I see we have great questions coming in on the chat. Feel free to keep on typing them in. Cece or Alfredo, would you like to reflect on any advice?
I would definitely say I would definitely say leverage your community, and I think that was one of the most important things for me. And I wish that I had gotten started sooner. Every week you're going to have discussions with people in your groups, and I would read through them and so on, but it wasn't until I was getting to the first convening that I thought, okay, I should really know who these people are before I show up. And I think that was really helpful because I already had an idea of the way they thought and so on, but with 100 people in your cohort, you can only read so many bios, right? So I would definitely say, get to know the people in your groups, get to know the people in your discussion groups, in your Facebook groups. So once you get to the convening, it's a lot easier to connect with them in a way that is more organic, because I can tell you that a lot of the really incredibly difficult or just important decisions that I made in the last 6 months were inspired by conversations I had with people that I only met 8 months ago. And I can't tell you how powerful that is, and I can't tell you how powerful it is to know that you have this group of, I don't know how many people who are all like really cheering you on. So connect with them, leverage that network, because with so many of them, chances are that whatever you're going through at that moment, either someone else is or someone else has been there, and they can definitely help you get through it.
True. Thank you, Cece.
Yeah, I definitely second Ross and Cece. And regarding the learning journey, I would say that enjoy each one of your assignments, enjoy your discussions. Feel free to ask questions, not only to the teachers, but also to your teammates. And what else? One assignment at a time. So I think that I really enjoy the program. Every in my case, I invested some of my Sundays morning and Sunday afternoon to finish my assignments. So it was really a moment in which I can be with myself and doing some debriefings with myself and with my teammates. So it was really I would say I felt really happy when I was just in front of the computer, just bringing up my ideas and reading the ideas of my teammates. So that's what I can say. Yeah.
Thanks, Alfredo. Russ, did you have something you wanted to say too?
Yeah, I would also add to that, and this addresses a little bit of one of the questions that's on the board as well, about profit-conscious day job and socially conscious night job. So I would found myself in that predicament years ago. I work for a big old profit-conscious company by the name of Bank of America U.S. Trust. So it's sometimes as big as you get. And so what I had to do is shape my own practice within that business to drive kind of what I'm trying to achieve with its effective philanthropy and so on and so forth. So I was able to do that, but it's all about really where your moral compass is. At the end of the day, if you're doing the right thing and you're kind and you're trying to get things done socially in the world, even though you have a profit-conscious job, making profits isn't a bad thing, and it shouldn't be confused with if that is the main focus. Everything matters. What I've been learning also in this class in sustainability is that everything matters, and so the companies even that are at the top of the game in corporate social responsibility, they still have a long ways to go as well to be these sort of ideal, socially charged, socially focused organizations. Even the Patagonias of the world and Unileaders, who are sort of the golden childs of socially conscious businesses, have a long way to go. So what I would just say is this is a journey. And so you and your company and the people that you work with and you'll work for, or your own company, would be, try not to just put stakes in the road and measure yourself like every day as, am I completely focused on social things versus enjoy the journey and keep working towards something. And if your moral compass is right, which obviously it is if you're considering this class and this program, then I think you'll be great there. And then just lastly, nothing gets solved by yourself in this type of sphere. So networking and collaboration, as Sissy and others have already said, is key to success in truly driving social change. There is not one person that could solve complex social issues. So a network like this that you'll develop with friends and colleagues and cohorts through this program is key to your future success. It may not seem that way right now, but years down the road, as you circle back with your cohorts, you'll find that the network that you create from this will be really, really powerful and will help you be a catalyst to whatever kind of social change you're trying to create.
Thanks, Russ. I really appreciate that. And this question about, how do you manage the conflict between a profit-conscious day job and a socially conscious night job is a challenge that a lot of our students have faced. And, a lot of our students work in nonprofits or are building social enterprises, so they're trying to merge those two things, profit and social impact in the same. But there are, others in Russ's position working at banks. We had another student in our first year who is an investor for, he is a fiduciary for professional athletes, and has spent a huge amount of time thinking about how to create, working in politics, trying to allow environmental and socially responsible investing to be part of fiduciary's investment choices or recommendations. And that's, and obviously not entirely because of his work, but he was working on that as part of his main job. And Russ too, understands the forms that bankers have to ask people who are retiring and thinking about estate planning to how they have to fill out. And so the questions on the forms really matter. And so people in these positions of, working in these big for-profit companies, they have these opportunities to speak truth to power. And a lot of our students are really doing that. It's very exciting to see that happen. So sorry, you got me on my soapbox for a second there, but we're really excited to have students like that in our program. So another good question that we heard is, another fear is that another study program will only keep me in a thinking mode and will stop me from getting in a doing mode. What would you tell somebody with that fear? Go ahead, Cece.
So I think that if that's the fear, then this definitely is a program for you. I remember before I went to the convening in March, I had emailed Ariel or during one of our calls or something, and I was like, well, what am I supposed to read? What am I supposed to bring? Do I need to bring my computer? And I was just very confused when I was told that I didn't need to bring any of those things. And I was like, but do I have an exam? Like, how is this going to work? And it really was just like back to back to back exercises. You're going to be on your feet like half the time, and you're going to have post-its everywhere. And you'd be surprised the amount of post-its I brought back that convening. They're in my office with ideas like just waiting to happen, basically. Many more ideas than we can possibly take on right now. And I really do think that this is a community of doers more so than anything else. I was having a conversation with someone last week who is running an entrepreneurship program for some of their students. We run entrepreneurship programs for Cubans on the island who come here and so on. And they were like, I don't want professors, I want doers. And I was like, this is the community for you, because every single thing that you're going to read about, or your assignments, they're going to be case studies from other businesses out there. So if that's the fear, I would definitely say this is the right program for you. I never really felt like I was in an academic environment. Obviously it's Penn, so hello, and the name has a really nice ring to it. But it really is just a community of doers, and every single example is grounded in something very, very practical, I think.
I would add to that that I don't think they're mutually exclusive, thinkers and doers. I think they happen most of the time at the same time. And if you're going to fail fast, you've got to be thinking and doing and shifting and tweaking and, and having iterative processes, throughout what you're trying to develop. So, you know yourself best. And at the end of the day, you always have to be driving action and setting goals and achieving the goals and then moving on. And then you're going to find that, okay, that was a wrong turn. I need to pivot and go left instead of right. And the only way that happens is by both of those things happening at the same time. So I don't know if I get caught up going personally into the, hey, I'm in another program now, and I'm going to spend 8-9 months doing the thinking and doing. I think we're doing both, but so at the same time.
Thanks, Ross. Just to give a quick overview of sort of the deliverables that you might put together. So at the end of the program, we put everything together that you've learned in a big toolkit. But during the course of the program, we ask you to think about. We offer hypothetical cases if you want them, we invite you to study existing social impact projects, whether it's a social enterprise or a nonprofit or a business that has some sort of social effect. But we encourage that students do their assignments about their own social project or social issue or social problem that they're trying to innovate some way to help on. So, Alfredo mentioned the logic model, and Russ mentioned how might we. And so we encourage you to develop all of these around the specific thing that you're talking about. And so we invite you to fill out all of these little frameworks and worksheets and tools. And it really is a doing oriented program. As Cece mentioned, we're at Penn, and there's a huge amount of research and theory embedded in what we teach, but we don't spend a lot of time. We offer you the readings and the opportunities to learn about that theory, and a lot of our students are very interested in the theory, but all of our demands of you are really oriented towards action on your own project. So that's a big, that's both a value of ours and what we think is a demand of our students. Great. So, we spoke a little bit about community. There was another question, how we make sure that people feel a sense of community during the program and after the program. I think our panelists very kindly already described how they experience community after. On CSIS's side, we offer a weekly call. I think Cece mentioned that. It's I usually lead that call. This year it was on Tuesday afternoons, and it's an open call, and literally anybody in the class is invited to join, and it's unscheduled time. And sometimes we talk about what's happening in the courses. So sometimes it's about the assignments, and sometimes it's logistical questions about things that are coming up in the program. But most of the time we have conversations about what people are experiencing in their professional lives and their social impact work. And when we're really in a groove, we workshop each other's problems, their challenges in their professional and social impact lives. So that's pretty robust conversation. Not everybody takes us up on it. We also one community building thing that we require is that students participate in online discussions each week around the course content. Partly that's to introduce you to each other so that you're not meeting perfect strangers when you see each other in the March convening, and part of it is to inspire a little bit more open-minded thought about a particular topic than you might have just sitting at your desk and learning on your own. And then for the rest of the program, we offer other opportunities to connect with each other. And we have a Facebook group, a private group on Facebook that's just our current students and our alumni of all of our executive program and our impact houses. And I think that's the best place where people use to post job opportunities and funding opportunities and make connections that are both social and professional. And some of our alumni right now are in the process of developing a more robust platform that's collaborative. So they'll pilot that starting probably next month. So I don't know if it'll be live or not by the time that you're started, but that's in the works too. It's pretty cool.
I would add to that. You may have said this, but we have weekly discussion questions. I don't know if you said this or not. But usually through the program, I think it's every week, if I remember correctly, there's discussion questions. So when we first got the map of where everybody's located for our cohort, I was like, oh my God, there's people like all over the world. Like, how am I even going to connect with them or communicate with them or feel like this is a group that we're working together? And oddly enough, once you start getting into the discussion questions every week and you're communicating back and forth on the topics that are germane to that week's content, you really get to know your cohorts very, very well from those discussion questions, because you're really having a lot of fun banter back and forth about whatever the topic is of the week and having a discussion about it. And I was pleasantly surprised at how connected that brought us all together, that discussion group stuff.
Great, thanks, Russ. We're about wrapping up our time here. If anybody has any other questions, it's time to put them in the chat now. We're also very happy to connect over email, or you can reach out to either Amber or me, or our admissions at socialimpactstrategy.org email address. But we encourage you to start your application. Our early deadline is October 15th. We're very excited to be able to offer $500 off of tuition if you apply by that date, just because it helps us plan our year and our budgeting. So we're happy to pass that savings on. But we have a later deadline if that's too soon for you. But it's a very simple application. And then the other thing to do, I encourage you to reach out for a one-on-one call. I host calls on Mondays and Wednesdays, and Kaveh, who is who's directing admissions this year and wears a lot of hats at the center. He speaks to potential applicants on Fridays. CC is also connecting with people. You'll see in my email signature, and Amber will send a follow-up email that'll explain to you how to make a appointment for a one-on-one call. I think it would be worth your while if you're interested in just making a connection and finalizing any little questions that you might have about whether you think the program is right for you. So with that, I wanted to, highlight one last question, and everybody's welcome, to scoot if they're done. I really like this this other question that I saw in the chat, which is actually a great subject for a debate. Are you a proponent of the learn, measure, build, or rather of the build, measure, learn cycle? Would you say a prototype is more important or customer development? Great question. I'm going to repeat it. Actually, I'm going to put it back in the chat so everybody has it in front of them. So like I said, I think this is actually quite a good debate question. I think at the center, we often encourage students to build to think. So we invite our students to just draw. We have a lot of prompts that encourage action first. And but one of those actions is to talk to the beneficiary or talk to the customer or co-develop something with the customer. So we don't actually see developing a prototype very much separate from customer development. Probably the number one challenge that organizations have is understanding customer need in relation to what they have to offer. And so there's sort of a matching that has to happen, and especially if you're trying to have a social impact, a co-development that has to happen between the people whose lives you're trying to improve and the thing or the solution or the innovation that is going to help improve their lives. And it's really impossible, we think, to develop a thing, a widget or a service without talking to those people and understanding them and allowing them to drive the construction of that solution. So partly we invite, when we think about design thinking, we play with pipe cleaners and, and construction paper a lot. And, partly it's fun, partly it's because evidence shows that people come up with more and better ideas. Well, better ideas is a function of the number of ideas that you come up with, and people come up with a lot of ideas if they're having fun. So that's one thing, but we also use pipe cleaners and construction paper because it produces prototypes that don't look great. And the purpose of those prototypes is to have a conversation with our customers or our beneficiaries. It's not to hand them something perfect, it's to offer them a prompt to encourage their conversation and their reflection on what the actual issue is that they experience from their perspective. So that's sort of what I would say about build to think. I'm sure the rest of the group has, as many people as are on this call are probably as many opinions as, could have. Anyway, it's actually quite a good discussion question. We have about 5 minutes left on the call. We'll stay on the line for just another minute or two to see if anybody has any more questions. And Cece, Russ, and Alfredo, and Amber, who hasn't really had a chance to say anything yet, if anybody wants to have the last word, it is up for grabs.
If anybody has any questions or needs any help with their application or anything, I'll send a follow-up email tomorrow morning, and you can respond to that, and I'll be able to help you in any way I can.
Okay, well, we will release you. Thank you so much to our alumni panelists, Cece, Russ, Alfredo. It was wonderful to see you. Very glad to have you share your perspectives with this group. Attendees, we really appreciate your presence, your listening. Thank you for your questions, and we'd love to follow up with you sometime in the future. Hope to see your applications.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.